Finally, let's talk about Cameron and Shelia, who for sure are asking themselves at this point, how are we going to implement all of this? Well, for Cameron, in order to scale his job, when it comes to Tableau CRM, which is the experience that Ali is going to have, all he has to do is open up a wizard box and it's a simple configuration. That's a pre-built template that he doesn't have to worry about building from scratch, making his job way easier for any information that the sales reps need to have within the Salesforce experience. Let's take a quick look on how that actually looks like. So before we log in, the important part to mention is that Cameron will be working closely with the Salesforce admin. The Salesforce admin probably already has set up a lot of the permissions around the objects and data inside of Salesforce. So those permissions that the Salesforce admin has set up also apply to the Tableau CRM application that we're about to show you how you're going to build. So in here, through the app launcher, you'll find that there's an Analytics Studio tab. This is the Tableau CRM experience. If I click on it, it will take me to my home screen where I can see all the items available to me, including some of the apps. And what you'll find is that there's often like these pre-built apps that you can start with and you can configure. So if I click on Create and then App, you'll find that I can actually see these pre-configured templates. And these are the templates I was talking about that allow me to pull the Salesforce data automatically into a dashboard without worrying too much about configuring it from scratch, right? And we want Cameron's job to be as easy as possible. So I just click on the Sales Analytics app, I click OK, and then continue. And then I can start configuring it through the Salesforce instance that I have. So I can create a brand new app. Okay. I'm going to click continue here. And then it's going to start configuring it for me. So I don't have to worry too much about anything. It's giving me a bunch of options. This is the wizard that I'm talking about. I can click looks good, next. And then based on this, I can decide, do I want it to be a basic app or a custom app? In Cameron's case, he's going to start off with just a basic app. We don't need to worry too much about it. We're going to name it Sales Analytics, Ali's View. Click Create. All right, and then we give it a little bit of time. So when I've been talking to different SEs, specifically from the Tableau CRM side, what they tell me is that very often they've actually configured these kind of apps within less than an hour for our clients. So that's pretty important to mention, right? You don't need to worry too much about working on the production environment or anything else. You can just work on creating an app that was already pre-built for you and plugging in the Salesforce information into it and configuring it through this little wizard. So while this is working, let's go back and take a quick look of what it means to use Einstein predictions. So you remember how we saw in the Salesforce instance, the different Einstein predictions capabilities. And then we also saw that when Ronnie logged into Tableau, he saw Einstein predictions within a Tableau dashboard. So the way that works is, again, through a symbol configuration that Cameron will be doing. So he's going to create what's called a story. So he starts off by adding a data set. So let's do that real quickly. I'm going to go back to my analytics app because right now I'm on my main page. And then I'm going to create and I'm going to click on story. Okay. And then I'm going to create from a data set. And you'll see here that I have all sorts of data sets that were already pre-built for me, including a Superstore model training that I've already built through my private app. So I'm going to click on that. And this is where the wizard comes up for the Einstein discovery story. So through this, I can decide what are the actions that I want my end users to take based on the data that we have available. So an example here is that I want to maximize, not discount, but most likely I want to maximize the profits that we're selling or the profit amount that we have. So I'm going to click on story type, and then I'm going to click on insights and prediction, and then set up options, and then I'll have it do automated as an information, and then click on create story. And again, this will take me through that wizard where it's going to configure things for me so that I understand what's going on with my data, and I can plug that information back within Tableau and within Salesforce contextually and relevantly to my end audience. Now, Cameron and others within Acme are going to mostly be using Tableau to do ad hoc analysis and to really help data drive insights within their organizations. And the way that they're going to do it is they're going to start off by connecting to all sorts of databases. Now, you'll notice that our list is very extensive. So you can actually organize it at this point by the alphabetical order or vice versa, or you can just search for it. But you'll also notice that we have additional connectors here that are available through the extension gallery. So these are connectors that you can buy that we have not released as part of our stack, but that makes it very easy to connect to all sorts of databases. But we definitely have the main ones available here, including a bunch related to Azure and Redshift and Google Big Cloud and Google Analytics, etc. The one I'm going to connect to is the one that I typically connect to during a demo, which is the Superstore Excel file. Obviously, this is very relevant to a Staples-like company. So it won't apply to every industry, but the concepts are the same. So as I walk you through this, consider the process as opposed to just the metrics are being explored in this data set. So I'm going to click here on the Superstore data. And I'm going to start off just by giving you guys a quick look at the data source. You'll notice that I have built a data model here where I brought 3 different tables: the orders table, which is this one, the people's table, which is this one, and the returns table, which is this one, to bring it together into a single data source that I'm going to explore in my sheets. And you'll also notice that I have a live and extra connection because Tableau can connect directly to a database by querying it all the time. Remember that the speed of your data source will determine the performance, which is a helpful reminder we remind you of every time, and an extract, which takes a snapshot of the data at a specific point of time. I'm going to start off by going to the sheet first sheet. And to demonstrate to you how easy it is to do ad hoc analysis in Tableau, I'm going to start off by looking into very basic information. So let's look, for example, at profits by product. So all I'm doing here is double clicking on profit and product. So you'll notice that the furniture profit is pretty low. And if I drill down here through this little plus sign into subcategories, you'll notice that the ones that are giving me the hardest time is bookcases, and tables. And to make this stand out a little bit more, I'm going to add the profits onto color, and I'm clicking on Control to look at it. And I'm going to change this to the entire view so that we can see it pretty clearly. So you saw that through like very simple clicks, I was able to get to my first insight, which is that my tables are very negative in terms of profit. If I wanted to push this further, well, I can just click on the tables and then click on this little light bulb and then click on it and start understanding some of the information related to this. So for example, I can take a look at the extreme values that are driving this profit to be very low. So I just clicked on the distribution of this rows, and it created this brand new sheet for me where I can see that at least one of my values that's really dragging things down is this one row related to a profit of minus 1,862. Let's see what is the discount related to that, for example. So it's a 40% discount. Somebody in my sales team gave a 40% discount, and I have to know why. That's almost half of my product price being discounted. To what customer did they give it to? Let's take a look. So they gave it to Joseph Holt. In what location? In North Carolina, in Concord specifically. So this is exactly how we can take a look and see in information just like that. We were not only able to see that table profits are low, but we were able to see an outlier that is something that stands out to us that we need to keep in mind and to figure out why is it that our people are discounting. So this is very important. Another way that Tableau does ad hoc analysis is you build out a couple of sheets and then you put together a report, and that's what Cameron and others are going to do. So an example is I'm going to look at a country, and the same information that I was looking at earlier, but I can look at from a different angle. So I'm going to put profits onto color. And then I'm going to break it down by state. So now I have states and profits, and this is specific to the region. So I can see the regions in the West, how they're doing versus Central versus South versus East. So my West regions are the most profitable, right? So I can see profits by region. Then I can create a third sheet. And this time let's do a time series, which is something that everybody needs. So we're going to put profits, and then we're going to put sales, and then I'm going to put order dates. All right, so now I'm looking at profits and sales over time. I'm going to create what's called a dual axis, which is just stacking things on top of each other, and then maybe break this down by month as opposed to year. All right, well, now we're seeing profit and sales over time. Maybe we want to add a little bit of analytics to it. I'm going to add the trend line, or I can add as well some prediction to what might be happening if we had enough data, but in this case, we don't. So we have all this information. This is a basic regression line with the R-squared value and the p-value. If you guys remember anything about statistics 101, you know that the smaller the p-value, the higher likelihood of it being rejected. If you remember statistics 101, you'd remember that the p-value is related to the probability of rejecting the null hypothesis, which is usually the one that is proving that your variables are actually not correlated. So if it's less than 0.05, that's a positive thing. And in this case, it is because it's 0.001. And that means there's a strong correlation here, or strong evidence that sales and profits are correlated. So in any case, we have now 3 different sheets, and I can put them into a single dashboard. So let's drag out the map, let's drag out the distribution of rows, let's drag out the time series. And let me make this smaller or automatic so that you guys can see it better. And let me take out some of the legends just for now from a perspective of a quick demo. Here, I can start filtering by the specific information. So I can click on the West, and everything will filter by the West. So I can see anything related to an outlier with the West and the time in terms of information. So you see that I had a huge spike in March, or for some reason, I make more money in March in terms of sales and profits, which means maybe there's a seasonality effect to my information. I can also click on, for example, here and start looking at the same information, and I can drill down all the way. You know, if I wanted to look at, for example, specifically to February, the information that's happening in Central, what did we sell, how much profit did we make, etc. That's one of the huge benefits of Tableau. That, besides amazing visualizations that all of our clients and competitors admit that we have, is a huge thing that will be helpful for any analysts, any business users within an enterprise organization. So now I'm back to my SuperSOAR model training, and you can see that through the story, I was also able to see some major predictions. And one of the obvious ones, just like in the SuperSOAR demo set that we looked at, we found right away that the discounts, when there's higher discounts, there is more likelihood that the profits are lower for obvious reasons. And some of the states that are less discounted, like New York, they do better than others, etc. So we can see all this information and the predictions related to it. But to do that, we're going to start off by deploying the model, and then we're going to bring you back to Tableau. Now, this is becoming a very, very long video, so I probably need to stop. But the bottom line is this for Cameron. Cameron was able to configure a prediction AI story, right, that is explainable to other audiences, specifically audiences like Ali and Ronnie who are in sales and who just need the basic information in terms of what to do and what actions to take from their sales for their sales in a day-to-day capacity. We were also able to work through an analytics app, so that's pre-templatized. So we don't really need to worry about building something from scratch, and then we'll be able to deploy it within the organization in sales so that we don't have to worry about it. And that will be part of that home tab that I showed you where Ali will live. And we were able to do a lot of ad hoc analysis within Tableau. So with that, I'm going to conclude my demo. The last piece that I'm going to mention, because I don't want to leave Shelia hanging, is single sign-on process. So if you have Tableau CRM, you don't have to worry about the single sign-on process within Salesforce, because Salesforce will be configured already for whatever single sign-on process you've already configured it to be. And if you had Tableau, well, then you can set up a single sign-on process by having Salesforce act as your identity provider, or by having a third-party IDP like Okta and others that are configured for both applications like Salesforce and Tableau.